So the left in Christianity, as the Democratic Party is getting ready to take on Trump, we look at some of the ideologies, some of the policies they're pushing. Are these in line with Christian values? Do they agree with Christian values? What are some of the things that they're pushing? Equality of outcome is something that they are strongly pushing, where no matter what, you get the same outcome. No, that's not, definitely not biblical in any way, shape, or form. If you have equal opportunity, yes, all of us have equal opportunity to come to Christ. All of us have equal opportunity to accept Him as Lord and Savior. After that, though, if we choose not to, the outcomes are vastly different. And there is no forcing that. There's no forcing equal outcome in that case. Although they want to force it, they want to make it equal outcome across the playing field, and there's no feasible way of doing that without huge expenses, and it wouldn't be sustainable. So abortion. Oh well, this one's obvious. This one's obvious to any Christian. Oh, but what about her right to choose? Her right to choose does not oversee someone else's right to live. Life is precious, no matter what. And a child's life is even more precious. Definitely a newborn who has not yet had any choice. I did a thorough video on comparing verses from the Bible, showing where they do. There's no reference of abortion in the Bible. Other than outside of God's law, man's law, yes, there are references of bad people in the Bible doing bad things. And that's the only case that killing a child is ever referenced in there as a bad thing. It's not a good thing in any way, shape, or form. So, homosexuality and transgender rights. Rights. Get rights. What rights? Obviously, Christianity clearly states homosexuality is a sin. Transgenderism is a sin. Both are wrong. Both will end up with whoever is living in the sinful way not being able to enter into the kingdom of heaven. There's no question about that in the Bible. I can't do anything about it because all I do is just repeat what God says, and I say I gotta go that way. I gotta go that way. So no, this is definitely counter Christianity. It's a very anti-Christian concept. They are now pushing banning churches in a way. At least one of the presidential candidates came outright and said, if you don't accept homosexuality or trans rights, then you should not have tax exemption status, and that will kill churches, because there's no way to physically to be able to run a church and still have that. So they basically want to remove tax exemption from every church that's out there, according to at least one of the possible candidates that we see. So that's obviously an attack against Christianity. It is. Plain and simple. That is an attack against Christianity. Oddly enough, he didn't mention anything about mosques being isolated or taken away from. It was only churches. Which is interesting. Because, and you can go back to my Sharia law videos, you see very clearly that homosexuality is by far a sin according to them, and punishable by death. And not only punishable by death, but instituted into their laws that you must kill anyone that commits a homosexual act. Christians will tell you you're wrong. Muslims will just downright kill you. Plain and simple with that one. Gun control. Oh boy! Gun control. I do want to do a more thorough discussion with the individual candidates and talking about what they stand for. But for now, we're just looking at a very broad brushstroke. So, gun control. No. I do not. I guess I'm very liberal in some senses. I prefer less government control. In fact, I cannot think of very rare cases where government control was a good thing. If anything, government control makes it worse most of the time. There are a few exceptions, but most of the time, government control makes it worse. And in this case, this is extremely against not only our Constitution, but Christian principles. Most people will quote Matthew 26:52, which is where Jesus is telling his disciples who lives by the sword will die by sword. That's where he states that. And if you look in context, Peter did draw a sword on a Roman, soldier. And the Roman soldiers were kind of known for killing people with swords. So this fisherman draws a sword to attack a Roman soldier with a sword. An untrained fisherman versus a career soldier. Who's going to win? It takes no level of intelligence to say, the soldier will win. Unless something really weird and he gets really lucky. No, soldier's going to win. And there were more than one soldier at the time. So yeah, he's going to get his royal butt kicked. And that's where you get the famous statement that a lot of people will definitely refer to, where those who live by a sword will die by a sword. In this case, Peter, if you're going to be drawing your sword on a soldier, he's going to kill you with it. Better references is Luke 22, verse 36 through 38, where Jesus is telling his followers to get swords. To go out, if you have your cloak, go sell it and buy yourself a sword and take it with us. Those swords were for self-defense, although the Romans were very good at keeping bandits off the road, robbers off the road, able to keep the peace. There were still those who were going around, and definitely when you're sending your people out for long trips, they need a way to protect themselves, not only against other people, but also against animals, or any way there. So that's reference of self-defense. You also had the judges, which were, Samson? Yeah. Self-defense is something that is very clear in the judges. King David is another example. You can say, well, King David was, fighting for his nation, so he was a soldier. He was also the king who decided some of these battles to fight, and when to fight, and who to fight against. So, yes, he was a soldier, as reference of a soldier, but he was also fighting these battles and deciding where to fight them. And he was declared a man after God's own heart. So yes, self-defense is something that's critical. Gun control definitely violates the Second Amendment. Definitely the intent of the Second Amendment, which I have had discussions with people who absolutely believe that the Second Amendment only talked about muzzle loaders. But the point was to be able to overthrow a tyrannical leader. Okay, so we had an issue with that. And where'd that come from? Well, come from the Founding Fathers, who just overthrew a tyrannical king with the use of weapons that were military grade at the time. So, there's no question in that. We have reference of George Washington. If you go back and say, well, no, it was only for hunting. That's all they intended for. Well, George Washington also gave permission for people to have cannons on their boats for sole intent of privateering. So yes, it is absolutely military grade equipment that they were talking about. Something else that's also been brought up is, well, do you believe that a bunch of armed civilians can overthrow a tyrannical government? Yes. Absolutely. Guerrilla warfare is very, very effective. Definitely when the people who are doing the guerrilla warfare are the friends, family, relatives of the people that you are ordering around to defend you. In America, we have a very different structure. A lot of nations beforehand have a king or some lord or ruler or dictator that you have absolute loyalty to. They are the absolute commander. Ours change every 4 years. Not only that, our soldiers are more loyal to the people that they are serving than the leader in place. So, yeah, that would be an issue. There would be a lot of defection if that were ever to come the case. You could look at Virginia. Their gun control that is being implemented, to my knowledge, it still is, has still not gone well. The police officer said, screw you, we're not doing this. They don't want to go to a place and get shot. They don't want to go to someone's house and get shot because they're doing something that they know is wrong, that they know is against the Constitution. So no, yes, I believe full-heartedly that a small, not even small, I mean, how many gun owners do we have in America? That, and it's a deterrent. Most famously, during World War II, the Japanese were planning a land invasion. They were going to invade America. That's their plan. Little nation invading a much bigger nation. Not too brilliant. But they were planning on doing it while the military, the American military, would be already fighting another war. So they're saying, okay, all their military is going to be gone over there. We can sneak in and we can take them. Right? General looked at the emperor and said,
no, that would be stupid.
He said, if we did that, we would have to, there would be a rifle behind every blade of grass. Because the population themselves are armed and would fight us every step of the way. So yes, gun control is stupid. So incredibly stupid. The only reason you would want to have gun control is so that you could directly control it. I guess the last statement that I've heard over and over again is, do you really believe that America could become a tyrannical nation? And to that response, I always ask them this simple question.
So what do you think of Trump?
That's normally the end of the conversation right there, because they got nothing. Okay, climate change. I did a whole video on this already. Climate change. We've seen climate change throughout the reference throughout the Bible. As far as the climates they're talking about are no longer there. We have seen a change. We have not been using, producing that much pollution before these changes happened. So the climate goes through ebbs and flows. We can see that throughout history. And we see that through the Little Ice Age. Back and forth. I mean, how many people have seen George Washington crossing the Delaware, right? You've seen that. Everyone's seen that. George Washington crossing the Delaware. Very famous picture. What does it have in there? Ice. The Delaware River doesn't freeze currently. But it did back then. You weren't driving automobiles around, melting them. But that is one reference where it was a mini ice age that we were having at that time. Also gave us beer. which is very interesting. Well, the entire history of that little ice age is very interesting. But do I believe that climate change is happening? Yes. Do I believe that humans are the sole and major contributor to this? No. No, I think that is just trying to make a panic out of it in order to force legislation through, in order to make some people look more virtuous than they are, or some people to actually look intelligent instead of foolish. AOC. The next one would be socialized healthcare, or what, healthcare for all, or Medicare for all, or whatever you want to call it. Again, stupid. Already did a video on this. Why it's stupid. Why it would be much better for us to pursue an open market format better than what we're currently doing now, or socialized healthcare. I think our healthcare system is in trouble. Yes. I think it has its problems. Absolutely. Socializing it, throwing everything out, and just starting over from a socialized platform? No. You're throwing out all the good that we have with it. Let's make it better. Illegal immigration. So it's illegal immigration. Oh, going back to socialized healthcare, I did also mention in that video why socialization or any form of that is counter Christianity. It's off of a different foundation, the foundation of if the government just controlled it and people were just left on their own, that people inherently are good. We are not inherently perfect, that this would be a perfect system, and if we just removed capitalism from it, if we just took that away, then it would be a utopia. It would just be fantastic. There would be no corruption. It would be just fantastic, right? Christianity teaches that we've all fallen short, that we are all fallen individuals. That's why we need salvation. That's why we need the blood of Christ. That's why we need the cross. The socialized healthcare, all that, anything free that the government's trying to push is built off of that foundation. That flawed foundation. Illegal immigration. You can look back at the Bible. There was very strict immigration laws. You had to integrate to the culture. Yes, open borders was never a concept that was even in the Bible, at least the idea of open borders. And you can't do that, definitely, if you want to give away free stuff. It's just a call to anyone to come join us. Come join us, and we'll give you a bunch of free stuff that
these slucks over here that are working their butts off have to pay for.
You don't have to pay for it, but they do. Yeah, no. The topic of Israel. The Democratic Party is very anti-Israel. Needless to say, definitely referenced throughout the Bible, Israel is a good thing. Israel is a stabilizing force in a very turmoil, very broken and destructive environment. They are the one calm in the midst of the storm. But yet, the Democratic Party, they do seek to destroy it. And definitely some individuals within the Democratic Party, recent ones, Omar, actively seek to destroy Israel and support groups that would kill innocents in order to do so. So, again, that doesn't align with Bible's principles.